The evening sky over Earth was calm, painted in shades of orange and pink as the sun dipped below the horizon. It was a scene that millions of people had witnessed countless times before, beautiful, peaceful, and ordinary. But on this particular evening, something extraordinary happened. Something that would change the course of human history forever. In a small town on the outskirts of Mumbai, Arjun Kumar was busy working in his garage. He was a simple man in his early 30s, with calloused hands and grease-stained clothes. Arjun wasn't rich or famous, he was just a mechanic who spent most of his days fixing cars and bikes for anyone who needed help. His life was predictable, almost monotonous, yet there was one thing about Arjun that set him apart from others. It was his kindness. No matter how tired he was or how late it got, he never turned away someone in need. That evening, Arjun had been working on a beat-up old scooter that belonged to an elderly neighbor. The engine was giving trouble and the owner couldn't afford to take it to a fancy repair shop. So, like always, Arjun stepped in without hesitation. As he tightened bolts and adjusted parts under the dim light of his garage, he didn't notice the strange shift in the atmosphere outside. High above, the clouds began to move unnaturally. They weren't drifting lazily as they usually did during sunset. Instead, they seemed to part deliberately, as if pulled apart by an invisible hand. At first, only a few curious eyes noticed this odd phenomenon. A couple walking their dog, a teenager scrolling through social media on their phone, and an elderly woman watering plants on her balcony. But soon, more and more people stopped what they were doing to look up at the sky. What they saw left them speechless. Hanging silently in the air were massive structures, so large that they blocked out entire sections of the night sky. These weren't airplanes or satellites. They weren't meteors or natural formations either. They were ships. Gigantic, otherworldly ships that looked like something out of a science fiction movie. Their surfaces shimmered with metallic hues, reflecting the faint glow of stars. Strange symbols etched into their hulls pulsed softly, casting eerie shadows across the landscape below. Panic spread quickly. Phones buzzed with notifications as videos and photos flooded social media platforms. News outlets scrambled to cover the event, but no one could explain what was happening. Governments around the world went into emergency mode, convening secret meetings and activating defense protocols. Military jets took to the skies, circling the mysterious vessels cautiously. Scientists tried to make sense of the technology behind these ships, but every attempt ended in failure. The objects defied all known laws of physics. Amidst the chaos, Arjun remained blissfully unaware. His garage was tucked away in a quiet corner of the town, far from the bustling streets where crowds gathered to gawk at the sky. The sound of tools clinking against metal drowned out any distant murmurs of alarm. For now, his world consisted only of engines, gears, and oil stains. It wasn't until much later that night when everything changed for Arjun. Just as he finished repairing the scooter and leaned back to stretch his sore muscles, he heard a soft knock at the door. Startled, he glanced at his watch. It was nearly midnight. Who could possibly be visiting him at this hour? Arjun wiped his hands on a rag and walked to the entrance of his garage. When he opened the door, he found himself face to face with a stranger. She was a young woman, probably in her late 20s, dressed in simple yet elegant clothing. Her dark hair framed a delicate face, and her eyes held a mixture of urgency and gratitude. "Sorry to bother you so late," she said in a soft voice. "But my car broke down nearby and I don't know anyone else who can help." Arjun hesitated for a moment. He was exhausted after a long day of work, and the thought of tackling another repair job wasn't appealing. But then he remembered the elderly neighbor whose scooter he had fixed earlier. Kindness wasn't something you rationed based on convenience. It was a choice, a way of life. With a sigh, he nodded and gestured for her to lead the way. The woman's car was parked a short distance away, hidden behind a cluster of trees along the roadside. As Arjun approached it, he immediately noticed something unusual. The vehicle was sleek and black, unlike anything he had ever seen before. Its design was futuristic, with smooth curves and glowing accents that seemed to hum faintly with energy. Even the tires looked different, made of some kind of material he couldn't identify. "This is interesting," Arjun muttered under his breath as he popped open the hood. Inside, the engine, or whatever powered the car, was equally baffling. There were no pistons or spark plugs, just intricate circuits and glowing components arranged in patterns that made no sense to him. Symbols similar to those on the alien ships in the sky were etched into the machinery, pulsating faintly. Despite his confusion, Arjun got to work. Years of experience had taught him how to troubleshoot problems even when he didn't fully understand the mechanics involved. After poking around for a while, he managed to locate the issue, a malfunctioning power core, and jury-rigged a temporary fix using spare parts from his garage. When he finally closed the hood and turned to the woman, she looked genuinely relieved. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. "You've done me a great service tonight." "No problem," Arjun replied with a shrug. "Just doing my job." Before leaving, the woman reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. It was roughly the size of a smartphone but shaped like a smooth oval. She pressed it into Arjun's hand. "Take this," she said. "You've shown me kindness when I needed it most. This might come in handy someday." Arjun stared at the object, unsure of what to say. Before he could ask any questions, the woman climbed into her car and drove off into the night. He watched her taillights disappear into the darkness, feeling a mix of curiosity and bewilderment. Little did Arjun know, this chance encounter would alter not only his life, but the fate of humanity itself. For the woman wasn't just any stranger, and the device she had given him wasn't just a token of gratitude. It was a key to unlocking secrets that would soon become vital to Earth's survival. Back in his garage, Arjun placed the mysterious object on a shelf and returned to his workbench. Outside, the alien ships continued to hover silently, their presence casting a shadow of uncertainty over the world. But for now, Arjun pushed aside thoughts of the unknown and focused on the familiar, the hum of his tools, and the comforting rhythm of his daily routine. Arjun didn't think much about the encounter with the mysterious woman after she left. Life went on as usual, or so he thought. The next morning, he woke up to the sound of his alarm clock blaring in his small, cluttered bedroom. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting golden light through the cracks in his curtains. He stretched, yawned, and got ready for another day of work in his garage. But when he stepped outside, something felt different. The streets were unusually quiet. Normally, by this time, children would be heading to school, vendors would be setting up their carts, and cars would honk impatiently in traffic. Today, however, there was an eerie stillness in the air. Even the birds seemed hesitant to chirp. Arjun scratched his head, wondering if he had somehow slept through some local holiday or festival. Then he remembered the strange ships that had appeared in the sky the previous night. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to check his phone for updates. His screen lit up with notifications, dozens of them. News apps, social media platforms, and even messages from friends bombarded him with information. Everyone was talking about the same thing, the alien ships. Video showed crowds gathering in cities around the world, pointing at the sky in awe and fear. Experts debated whether the visitors were friendly or hostile. Governments issued statements urging calm while secretly preparing for the worst. Arjun scrolled through the posts, feeling a mix of fascination and unease. The ships were still hovering above Earth, silent and unmoving. No one knew what they wanted, or why they were here. Some speculated it was an invasion, others believed it was a scientific mission. Whatever the truth was, one thing was clear. Humanity's future hung precariously in the balance. As he put down his phone, Arjun's eyes drifted to the shelf where he had placed the device the woman had given him. It lay there innocently, its smooth surface gleaming faintly in the sunlight. Something about it tugged at his mind, a nagging feeling that it might hold answers to the questions everyone was asking. But how could a simple object like that be connected to the massive ships in the sky? Shaking his head, Arjun pushed the thought aside and headed to his garage. The day passed slowly. Business was unusually slow. Few people came to get their vehicles repaired. Most were too distracted by the events unfolding overhead. Arjun spent most of his time tinkering with old parts, trying to keep himself occupied. Yet, his thoughts kept returning to the mysterious woman and her car. Who was she? Where had she come from? And why had she trusted him enough to leave behind such a peculiar object? By evening, Arjun couldn't ignore his curiosity any longer. After locking up his garage, he picked up the device and examined it closely. It was lightweight, cool to the touch, and completely featureless, except for a tiny indentation on one side that looked like a button. Hesitant but intrigued, he pressed it. To his astonishment, the device sprang to life. A soft hum filled the air, and a beam of light shot upward, projecting holographic images onto the ceiling of his garage. Arjun stumbled backward, nearly dropping, the gadget in shock. What he saw took his breath away. The holograms displayed intricate diagrams of the alien ships, their exteriors, internal structures, and even what appeared to be schematics of their propulsion systems. Alongside these visuals, symbols similar to those on the woman's car floated in midair, accompanied by streams of data that Arjun couldn't decipher. Though he wasn't a scientist or an engineer, one thing was obvious. This was advanced technology, far beyond anything humans had ever created. For several minutes, Arjun stood frozen, staring at the holograms in disbelief. His heart raced as realization dawned on him. This wasn't just a random gift, it was a message, maybe even a clue. The woman hadn't simply thanked him for fixing her car. She had entrusted him with something important, something that could potentially change everything. But what was he supposed to do with it? He was just a mechanic, a nobody living in a small town. How could he possibly make sense of this information, let alone use it to help humanity? Doubts swirled in his mind, but deep down, he knew he couldn't ignore this discovery. If there was even the slightest chance that this device could provide answers or protection, he had to act. The next day, Arjun made a decision. He reached out to someone he thought might understand the significance of what he had found, a journalist named Priya Mehta. Priya specialized in covering UFO phenomena and conspiracy theories, often writing articles for niche online publications. She was known for her relentless pursuit of the truth, no matter how bizarre or unbelievable it sounded. Arjun had read some of her pieces before and admired her dedication, even if he didn't always agree with her conclusions. He sent her a brief message explaining what had happened and attached photos of the device and its holographic projections. To his surprise, Priya responded almost immediately, asking to meet him in person. They arranged to meet at a cafe on the outskirts of town later that evening. When Arjun arrived, Priya was already waiting for him. She was younger than he expected, with sharp features and an intense gaze that made it clear she didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Show me," she said without preamble, gesturing for him to take out the device. Nervously, Arjun activated the holograms again. Priya leaned forward, her eyes widening as she studied the images. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, she broke the silence. "This is incredible," she whispered. "Do you have any idea what this means?" "I don't know much," Arjun admitted. "But I think it's related to those ships in the sky. That woman who gave it to me, she was not like us." Priya nodded thoughtfully. "You're probably right. This looks like alien tech. And if it really contains schematics of their ships, then we might be looking at a game changer." Over the next hour, they discussed possible courses of action. Priya suggested contacting experts, scientists, engineers, anyone who could analyze the data further. But Arjun hesitated. Sharing this kind of information publicly could attract unwanted attention, not just from curious civilians, but also from government agencies and military forces. Once word got out, there was no telling what might happen. Eventually, they agreed on a compromise. Priya would write an article hinting at the existence of classified alien technology without revealing too many details. Meanwhile, Arjun would keep the device safe until they figured out whom to trust. As they parted ways, Arjun felt a mix of excitement and dread. For the first time in his life, he was involved in something bigger than himself. But he also knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. The aliens' intentions remained unclear, and tensions on Earth were rising rapidly. Protesters marched in the streets demanding answers from their leaders. Military bases buzzed with activity as troops prepared for potential conflict. The world teetered on the edge of chaos. Back home, Arjun stared at the device once more. Its glow seemed almost comforting now, a reminder that he wasn't entirely powerless in the face of uncertainty. Whatever role fate had chosen for him, he vowed to see it through. After all, kindness had brought him this far. Perhaps it would guide him again. Unbeknownst to him, forces larger than he could imagine were already taking notice. Somewhere high, above, aboard one of the alien ships, sensors tracked the faint energy signature emanating from the device. A transmission was sent, alerting key personnel to its location. Among those receiving the message was none other than Maya, the woman who had given Arjun the device. Maya watched the feed silently, her expression unreadable. She had hoped to avoid drawing attention to Earth, knowing full well the dangers posed by her rivals within the alien factions. Yet here they were, closing in on the very planet she had sought to protect. Her plan had been simple: establish contact discreetly, forge alliances with humanity, and prevent her aggressive counterparts from exploiting Earth's resources. Now, thanks to Arjun's actions, the situation had grown infinitely more complicated. But perhaps not all hope was lost. Maya recalled the mechanic's kindness, his willingness to help a stranger in need. There was strength in humanity, she realized, a resilience and adaptability that her own people lacked. If anyone could navigate the challenges ahead, it was them. With renewed determination, Maya began formulating a new strategy. She would need allies among humans if she hoped to succeed, and Arjun, unwitting though he may be, was already proving himself invaluable. Far below, oblivious to the cosmic stakes at play, Arjun continued going about his daily routine. Yet, every glance at the glowing device reminded him that his ordinary life had taken an extraordinary turn. Little did he know, his journey was only just beginning, and the choices he made next would shape the destiny of two worlds. The days that followed felt like a whirlwind for Arjun. What had started as a quiet, uneventful life in his garage was now consumed by the weight of responsibility he never asked for. The device Maya had given him wasn't just a mysterious artifact. It was a lifeline, perhaps humanity's only hope against the looming alien presence. But with that realization came fear, doubt, and an overwhelming sense of inadequacy. How could someone like him, a simple mechanic, play a role in something so monumental? Priya's article had caused ripples across the internet. While she hadn't revealed too much, her hints about classified alien technology caught the attention of conspiracy theorists, scientists, and government officials alike. It didn't take long for authorities to track down the source of her information. One evening, as Arjun sat in his garage tinkering with an old motorcycle, headlights flooded the driveway. A convoy of black SUVs pulled up outside, their engines rumbling ominously. Men in suits stepped out, flanked by soldiers armed with rifles. Arjun froze, his heart pounding. He recognized one of the men immediately, a high-ranking military officer, named Colonel Rakesh Singh, whose face frequently appeared on news channels discussing national security. The colonel approached him calmly but firmly. "Mr. Kumar," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument, "we need to talk." Within minutes, Arjun found himself seated in the back of one of the vehicles, speeding toward a secure facility on the outskirts of the city. His mind raced with questions. Would they confiscate the device, arrest him, or worse? To his surprise, the officers treated him with respect, at least for now. They explained that humanity was at a crossroads. The alien ship still hung motionless above Earth, refusing to communicate or reveal their intentions. Tensions were escalating globally, and governments were preparing for the worst-case scenario: war. When they arrived at the facility, Arjun was ushered into a dimly lit conference room filled with monitors displaying live feeds of the alien ships. Scientists, engineers, and military personnel huddled around tables covered in blueprints and notes. The air buzzed with urgency. Arjun felt out of place among these experts, but when he activated the device and projected its holograms onto the wall, the room fell silent. For hours, the team pored over the data, analyzing every detail. The schematics revealed vulnerabilities in the alien ship's defenses, weak points that could potentially be exploited if humanity decided to fight back. But there was more. Hidden within the streams of symbols and diagrams were fragments of what appeared to be communication protocols. If decoded correctly, they might offer a way to establish contact with the aliens. Colonel Singh turned to Arjun, his expression grim but hopeful. "You've given us something we desperately needed," he said. "But this is only the beginning. We don't know who sent you this device or why, but it's clear they wanted us to have it. Now it's up to us to decide how to use it." The days passed. Arjun became an integral part of the operation. Though he lacked formal education in science or engineering, his practical knowledge of mechanics proved invaluable. He worked alongside the experts, helping them understand the physical components of the device and suggesting ways to adapt its technology for human use. Slowly but surely, progress was made. Prototypes of weapons and communication devices based on the alien tech began taking shape. Meanwhile, tensions between Earth and the extraterrestrial forces reached a boiling point. Military jets conducted flybys near the alien ships, probing for weaknesses. In response, the aliens deployed smaller vessels, nimble drones that zipped through the atmosphere, disabling satellites and disrupting global communications. Cities plunged into darkness as power grids failed. Panic spread like wildfire and protests erupted worldwide. People demanded answers from their leaders, accusing them of incompetence and secrecy. Amidst the chaos, Arjun couldn't shake the memory of Maya, the woman who had trusted him with the device. Who was she really? Was she friend or foe? And why had she chosen him of all people to deliver such critical information? These questions haunted him, gnawing at the edges of his mind even as he focused on the task at hand. One night, after another grueling day at the facility, Arjun received an unexpected visitor. Priya had managed to sneak past security to see him. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with concern. "Arjun," she whispered urgently, "you need to listen to me. Things aren't what they seem." "What do you mean?" Arjun asked, frowning. Priya hesitated before continuing. "I've been digging deeper into this story. There's more going on than anyone realizes. Those ships, they're not all the same. Some of them belong to different factions. And the woman who gave you the device, she's part of a faction that wants peace. But there's another group. They're aggressive and they see Earth as a threat." Arjun's stomach churned. "How do you know this?" "I have sources," Priya replied cryptically. "Look, I can't explain everything right now, but you need to be careful. The military might think they're preparing for war, but they're playing directly into the hands of the wrong side. If they attack, it could trigger a conflict we can't win." Before Arjun could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed and voices shouted orders over intercoms. A soldier burst into the room shouting, "We're under attack." Arjun and Priya rushed outside to see chaos unfolding. Dozens of alien drones swooped low over the compound, firing energy beams that tore through buildings and vehicles. Soldiers scrambled for cover, returning fire with prototype weapons based on the alien tech. Explosions rocked the ground, sending shockwaves rippling through the air. Amidst the destruction, Arjun spotted Colonel Singh barking commands, trying to coordinate a defense. "Get to safety," the colonel yelled when he saw Arjun. "This isn't your fight." But Arjun couldn't run. Not now. He knew too much, had seen too much. As he watched the battle unfold, his thoughts drifted back to Maya. If what Priya said was true, if there were factions among the aliens, then maybe there was still a chance for diplomacy. Maybe the device held not just tools for war, but also keys to peace. Summoning every ounce of courage, Arjun grabbed the device and sprinted toward the command center. Inside, scientists were frantically working to decode the communication protocols. embedded in the holograms. "We need to send a message," Arjun shouted over the din of explosions. "If we can reach them, we can stop this." The lead scientist shook his head. "It's not ready. We don't even know if they'll understand." It's our only shot," Arjun insisted. "If we don't try, we'll lose everything." Reluctantly, the team agreed. Using the device, they broadcast a signal, a combination of mathematical patterns and universal symbols designed to convey peaceful intent. For several agonizing minutes, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, the drones stopped attacking. The alien ships above ceased their ominous hum, and a new transmission echoed across the globe. It was a voice not in any human language, but somehow understandable. The message was simple yet profound. "Prove your worth." The battle paused, leaving both sides locked in a tense standoff. Back at the facility, Arjun collapsed into a chair, exhausted but determined. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain: humanity's survival depended not just on strength, but on unity and ingenuity. And somewhere out there, Maya was watching, waiting to see if Earth would rise to the occasion. As dawn broke over the horizon, casting light on the battered landscape, Arjun realized that the real fight had only just begun. The alien message, "Prove your worth," hung heavy in the air, echoing not just across Earth, but deep within Arjun's mind. It was a challenge, an ultimatum that demanded humanity rise above its divisions and fears. But what did it mean? To prove their worth? Was it about demonstrating strength, intelligence, or something else entirely? No one had answers, only questions, and time was running out. In the days following the attack on the military facility, governments worldwide scrambled to interpret the cryptic transmission. Scientists debated endlessly, while world leaders convened emergency summits to decide humanity's next move. Meanwhile, Arjun found himself thrust into the spotlight. His connection to the mysterious device made him indispensable, and Colonel Singh insisted he remain at the forefront of efforts to decode its secrets. But as much as Arjun wanted to focus on solving the puzzle, his thoughts kept drifting back to Maya, the woman who had given him the device. Who was she? Really? And why had she chosen him? Something about her lingered in his memory like an unfinished melody waiting to be resolved. He couldn't shake the feeling that she held the key to understanding the alien's intentions, and perhaps even averting disaster. Priya, sensing Arjun's growing obsession with Maya, decided to dig deeper. Using her network of contacts and investigative skills, she uncovered fragments of information that painted a startling picture. Maya wasn't just any alien emissary. She belonged to a faction known as the Vineyard civilization. This group hailed from a distant moon covered in lush, sprawling vineyards, an idyllic society renowned for its pacifism and mastery of bioengineering. Unlike the aggressive faction currently threatening Earth, the Vineyarders valued harmony and sought peaceful coexistence with other species. However, there was a catch. The Vineyard civilization was under siege, both politically and militarily, by the more dominant and expansionist faction now occupying Earth's orbit. Maya had come to Earth incognito, hoping to forge alliances before her rivals could exploit the planet's resources. Unfortunately, her mission had been cut short when her ship malfunctioned, forcing her to seek refuge among humans. Now she was likely captured, or worse, by her own people. When Priya shared this revelation with Arjun, it hit him like a thunderbolt. Everything clicked into place. Maya's urgency, her trust in him, and the significance of the device. She hadn't simply handed him a tool for survival. She had entrusted him with a lifeline, a chance to unite humanity with her kind against their common enemy. "We have to find her," Arjun declared, his voice trembling with determination. "If we can get to Maya, maybe we can convince her faction to help us." Priya nodded, though skepticism flickered in her eyes. "It won't be easy. Those ships are guarded like fortresses. Even if we manage to locate her, how do you plan? To sneak past their defenses?" "I don't know yet," Arjun admitted. "But I owe her. She trusted me when no one else would." If we're going to stand a chance against the aggressors, we need her. With Priya's help, Arjun devised a daring plan. They couldn't rely solely on Earth's governments whose agendas often clashed and delayed progress. Instead, they assembled a small covert team consisting of scientists, engineers, and soldiers willing to take risks for the greater good. Each member brought unique skills to the table, but none were more crucial than Arjun, whose familiarity with the device gave them a fighting chance. Using data extracted from the holograms, the team identified a potential weak point in the alien fleet's formation, a smaller vessel stationed slightly apart from the main cluster. Their theory was that this ship might serve as a communications hub or holding area for prisoners. If Maya was being detained, this was their best bet to find her. The mission required stealth, precision, and a lot of luck. Equipped with modified versions of the alien tech, including cloaking devices reverse-engineered from the schematics, they boarded a specially designed spacecraft. The craft itself was crude compared to the sleek alien vessels, but it incorporated enough advanced elements to blend in temporarily. As they launched into space, Arjun felt a mix of exhilaration and terror. For years he had dreamed of leaving Earth's atmosphere, but never like this, not with the fate of billions resting on his shoulders. As they approached the alien fleet, tension mounted. Every sensor reading, every movement of their controls, felt like a gamble. The team relied heavily on Arjun, whose instincts guided them through treacherous corridors of floating debris and energy fields. When they finally reached the target vessel, they activated the cloaking mechanism and slipped, inside undetected. What awaited them inside defied imagination. The interior of the ship was unlike anything they had ever seen, a labyrinth of organic structures intertwined with metallic frameworks. Walls pulsed faintly, as if alive, and strange flora-like formations emitted soft glows. It was both beautiful and unsettling, a stark contrast to the cold mechanical designs of human technology. Navigating the maze proved challenging. At every turn, they encountered automated drones patrolling the halls. Using tools adapted from the alien tech, the team disabled the drones quietly, inching closer to their goal. Along the way, they stumbled upon chambers filled with bizarre artifacts, some resembling weapons, others appearing to be biological samples. It became clear that the aggressive faction viewed Earth not just as a resource-rich planet, but as a subject for experimentation. Finally, after what felt like hours, they discovered a detention area. Rows of translucent pods lined the walls, each containing a humanoid figure suspended in a gel-like substance. Arjun scanned the pods frantically, his heart racing. Then he saw her, Maya. Her eyes were closed, her body motionless, but she was unmistakably alive. Breaking into the pod required quick thinking and teamwork. One of the engineers used a handheld device to override the locking mechanism, while another monitored for approaching threats. When the seal hissed open and the liquid drained away, Maya stirred, disoriented but conscious. Her gaze met Arjun's, and for a moment, time seemed to stop. "You came for me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I promised I'd help," Arjun replied, extending a hand to steady her. There was no time for explanations. Alarms blared throughout the ship, signaling their presence. Guards converged on their location, forcing the team to flee. With Maya leading the way, they navigated, shortcuts only she knew, evading capture by mere seconds. As they reached the docking bay where their ship awaited, reinforcements poured in, blocking their escape route. Cornered and outnumbered, Arjun made a split-second decision. Activating the device Maya had given him, he projected a holographic message directly onto the walls of the ship. Symbols and patterns danced across the surfaces, accompanied by a resonant hum. To everyone's astonishment, the pursuing guards halted, frozen in place as if mesmerized. Maya turned to Arjun, her expression awestruck. "You've unlocked the language of my people," she said softly. "This is unprecedented." Before anyone could ask what she meant, the ship shuddered violently. A voice boomed through the corridors, speaking in the same universal tones as before. "Cease hostilities. We will negotiate." The standoff ended as abruptly as it began. The aggressive faction withdrew, leaving the Vineyarders, including Maya, to escort Arjun and his team back to Earth. For the first time since the ships appeared, hope flickered on the horizon. Humanity wasn't alone in its fight. Allies existed, among the stars, waiting to be embraced. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted as news of the truce spread. People gathered in streets and squares, cheering for the unlikely heroes who had risked everything to secure peace. Arjun stood quietly amidst the crowds, his mind still reeling from all that had transpired. Maya remained by his side, her presence, a reminder of the vast possibilities ahead. Yet as fireworks lit up the night sky, Arjun couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders and dangers. But for now, humanity had earned a reprieve, thanks to kindness, courage, and an unshakable belief in the power of unity. And somewhere beyond the stars, the Vineyard civilization watched, ready to guide Earth toward a brighter future. The truce between Earth and the alien factions marked a turning point in human history. For the first time, humanity stood not as isolated beings on a fragile planet, but as part of a larger cosmic community. Yet the road ahead was far from smooth. The aggressive faction, the ones who had initially threatened Earth, remained wary and unpredictable. Their leaders viewed humans as an unpredictable species, too volatile to trust fully. Meanwhile, Maya's peaceful Vineyard civilization sought to bridge the gap, advocating for cooperation rather than conflict. Arjun found himself at the center of this delicate balance. His actions during the mission aboard the alien ship had earned him respect, not only from his fellow humans but also from the Vineyarders. They saw him as proof that kindness and ingenuity could transcend barriers, even those as vast as the stars themselves. But with great admiration came immense responsibility. Arjun knew he couldn't rest while tension simmered between Earth and the extraterrestrial forces. Maya became his closest ally in navigating this new reality. She stayed on Earth temporarily, serving as an ambassador for her people. Her presence was both fascinating and humbling. Despite her advanced knowledge and otherworldly origins, she carried herself with humility, treating everyone, from world leaders to ordinary citizens, with equal respect. Over time, Arjun grew closer to her, their bond forged through shared struggles and mutual understanding. Though they came from vastly different worlds, they discovered common ground in their desire for peace and unity. Together, they worked tirelessly to build bridges between humanity and the Vineyard civilization. With Maya's guidance, scientists began unraveling the mysteries of alien technology. Breakthroughs followed one after another. Clean energy sources, advanced medical treatments, and sustainable agricultural methods transformed life on Earth almost overnight. Cities rebuilt themselves using materials derived from alien designs, stronger and more efficient than anything previously known. Pollution levels dropped dramatically as industries adopted eco-friendly practices inspired by the Vineyarders' bioengineering expertise. But progress wasn't without challenges. Not everyone welcomed the changes. Some feared that reliance on alien tech would make humanity dependent, stripping away its independence. Others believed the aliens had ulterior motives, accusing them of manipulating Earth for their own gain. Conspiracy theories flourished online, fueled by fear and mistrust. Protests erupted in major cities with angry crowds demanding answers from their governments. Amidst the chaos, Arjun and Maya traveled across the globe, addressing crowds and speaking directly to skeptics. They emphasized the importance of collaboration, reminding people that survival depended on working together, not just with each other but with the wider universe. "We are not alone," Maya often said, her voice calm yet powerful. "And we never were. The question is whether we choose to embrace this truth or let fear divide us." Their efforts paid off slowly but surely. As tangible benefits of the Yo alliance became evident, better healthcare, cleaner environments, and improved living standards, public opinion began to shift. People started seeing the aliens not as invaders, but as partners. Schools introduced courses on interstellar diplomacy, teaching children about the possibilities of coexistence beyond Earth. Artists drew inspiration from alien aesthetics, blending them with human creativity to produce works that celebrated diversity and innovation. Still, the aggressive faction loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon. Their leaders refused to join the negotiations, insisting that humanity posed too great a risk to galactic stability. To them, Earth represented unpredictability, a wild card that could disrupt centuries-old power dynamics among the stars. Maya confided in Arjun that her people had faced similar resistance before. The Vineyard civilization itself had once been marginalized, forced to carve out a niche in a hostile galaxy. Their pacifist philosophy had saved them, allowing them to thrive despite adversity. They're afraid of change, Maya explained one evening as they stood on a hill overlooking Mumbai. The city sparkled below, its skyline transformed by alien-inspired architecture. Fear blinds them to the potential of unity. But if we can show them what we've accomplished here, if we can prove that cooperation leads to prosperity, they might reconsider. Determined to make that happen, Arjun proposed a bold plan, an interstellar summit hosted on Earth. It would be the first gathering of its kind, bringing together representatives from multiple alien factions, including the aggressors, to discuss the future of intergalactic relations. Maya supported the idea wholeheartedly, recognizing it as a chance to break down barriers and foster dialogue. Organizing the event required months of preparation. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats collaborated to create a venue capable of accommodating beings with vastly different needs. Floating platforms adjusted gravity levels for species accustomed to lighter or heavier environments. Translation devices ensured seamless communication, converting languages into universal symbols that everyone could understand. Security measures were implemented discreetly, ensuring the safety of all attendees without creating an atmosphere of hostility. When the day finally arrived, excitement buzzed through the air. Delegates from dozens of alien civilizations arrived aboard their ships, descending onto Earth with a mix of curiosity and caution. Humans lined the streets, waving flags and holding banners emblazoned with messages of peace. For many, this was their first glimpse of extraterrestrial life forms, some humanoid, others resembling creatures straight out of mythology. Despite their differences, there was an undeniable sense of awe and wonder. Inside the summit hall, Arjun took his place alongside world leaders and alien dignitaries. He felt nervous but resolute, aware that every word spoken here could shape the destiny of countless worlds. When it was his turn to address the assembly, he stepped forward, clutching the device Maya had given him, the same object that had sparked this incredible journey. "This started with kindness," he began, his voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. "A simple act of helping someone in need opened doors I never imagined possible. That woman," he gestured toward Maya, seated nearby, "trusted me when I was just an ordinary mechanic. In return, she gave me something extraordinary, hope." Held up the device, its surface glowing softly under the spotlight. "This isn't just a piece of technology. It's a symbol of what we can achieve when we work together. We may come from different planets, speak different languages, and live differently, but our dreams are the same. We want safety, prosperity, and a better tomorrow for those who come after us." The room fell silent as Arjun continued. "Today, we stand united, not because we have no choice, but because we see value in each other. Let this summit mark the beginning of a new era, an era where fear gives way to friendship, where suspicion becomes trust, and where isolation transforms into connection." His speech ended with applause, not just from humans but from aliens as well. Tentacles waved, antennae twitched, and multi-limbed beings clapped enthusiastically. Even the aggressive faction's representatives nodded grudgingly, acknowledging the sincerity behind Arjun's words. Over the course of several days, discussions unfolded, ranging from resource sharing, agreements to cultural exchange programs. Slowly but surely, cracks in the wall of distrust began to heal. While full reconciliation remained a distant goal, seeds of cooperation were planted. By the end of the summit, a tentative framework for interstellar governance was established, paving the way for continued dialogue. As the delegates departed, Earth prepared to embark on its next chapter. Humanity now stood alongside the Vineyard civilization and other allies, ready to explore the cosmos together. New ships were constructed, combining human ingenuity with alien advancements. Exploration missions launched into uncharted territories, seeking knowledge and forging friendships across star systems. For Arjun, life returned to a semblance of normalcy, but nothing would ever truly be the same again. He continued running his garage, though it now served as a hub for sharing stories and ideas between humans and aliens alike. Maya eventually returned to her moon-bound vineyards, promising to stay in touch. Before leaving, she handed him another, small device similar to the first. "This will connect you to me whenever you need," she said with a smile. "You've proven yourself a true friend, not just to me but to my people and yours." As her ship ascended into the sky, Arjun watched with a mixture of pride and gratitude. He had started as a humble mechanic, unaware of the vast universe beyond Earth's atmosphere. Now he was a hero, a bridge builder, and a beacon of hope. His journey reminded him, and everyone else, that kindness, courage, and unity could overcome even the greatest challenges. In the years that followed, humanity ventured boldly into space, guided by lessons learned during its darkest hour. The stars, once distant and unreachable, became destinations filled with promise. And somewhere among those twinkling lights, the Vineyard civilization watched over Earth, proud of the partnership they had forged. Though Arjun's role evolved, over time one thing remained constant: his belief in the power of kindness. It was the thread that wove through every triumph, every challenge, and every dream realized. Because in the end, it wasn't weapons or technology that saved humanity. It was the simple act of